Can you speak to why the school system specifically has turned into a place in which is now a pipeline for prison, and now prisoners are exploding from black and brown communities? Almost 60 to 61% of the prison population is black and Latino.
Without question. Well, firstly, education in America was started to produce a better educated low-wage earner for the corporations. Education was never about sending anyone to college. It was never about sending anyone to trade school or even, sending them to start their own business. Education was all about enslavement to the corporations, making sure the workers could do basic reading, basic math, and basic writing so that their labor could be more effectively exploited by the capitalist engine. And so public school was created because there was a need for that low-wage earning person to have a basic minimum skill education. Now today we're in a situation where black people's labor is no longer necessary in order for America to operate. And that's a very significant thing given the fact that many of our ancestors were born here because their labor was very much needed. Slavery was very much necessary for the birth of American capitalism and economic elitism. And now the same people who were brought here to make America are no longer needed to maintain America. So what do you do when the people who are brought here to make America are no longer needed to maintain America? You automatically embark upon a systematic process of genocide and extermination. And that's where abortion comes in. That's where Ebola comes in. That's where the LBGT movement comes in. That's where police genocide comes in. Black-on-black crime comes in. And, of course, mass incarceration comes in as well. And so we got to recognize that everything that is being done to black people in America now is not being done to oppress you. It's being done to get rid of you.
Wow. So what you're saying is genocide of sorts or racial cleansing.
Oh, without question, ethnic cleansing on a whole nother level. And it's very difficult for black people to speak out about this and have anything politically done or legally done on an international scale, because many of us are still very much wedded to the idea of being African American. We are still pretty much American loyalists. Even with all the killings that's been going on in America, black people were still out there celebrating July the 4th, 1776. So psychologically, we are very much dependent on the white man. Psychologically, we very much identify with the white man. And it's going to be very difficult to fight oppression when you sympathize with the oppressor.
Well said. Now, according to a Pew Research poll that was taken, it says that 61% or 6 out of 10 blacks say race relations are generally bad and actually have gotten worse since the election of President Barack Obama. Now, I know, brother, you have been a definite crier and speaker of, your opposition toward black people so foolishly putting all their hopes and praise into one man, and especially that man being Barack Obama. Can you speak to why now there's so much angst in the black community regarding the presidency of Barack Hussein Obama?
Well, that's because black people are disappointed. They actually believed in Barack Obama. I don't know why. There was no evidence whatsoever that would suggest that he would do anything for black people. He never did anything for black people in Chicago. That whole community organizer facade was nothing but a propaganda campaign to give the appearance that there was a grassroots black man who was being chosen to be president of the United States. Obama is anything but grassroots. He was made by the Trilaterals. He was made by Zbigniew Brzezinski. He was made by the Bilderbergs. There's nothing about pull yourself up from your bootstraps about Barack Obama whatsoever. So black people foolishly, ridiculously, and immaturely put their hopes into a man without any type of concessions from him before they decided to marry their vote to his cause. And so now, 8 years later, they have come for a circle to only recognize that change that Obama talked about so much in his first presidential campaign bid was actually a change from better to worse. Black people assumed that when Obama said he was going to bring change that we could believe in, they thought he was talking about, eradicating racism. They didn't realize that the change that Obama said you can believe in was actually a change for white people to put black people in chains back into a state of oppression that almost resembles slavery. And when I go back to the early Obama campaign administration, I think I might have been the only scholar in the country who publicly felt or stated several occasions that by the time President Obama get out of office, black people will be in a position that is almost worse than anything we've seen since the Civil Rights Movement and beyond. Most other scholars were very reluctant to express the fact that President Obama was nothing but a Greek-bearing gift, nothing but an iron fist, tucked within a velvet glove. The reason he was made president of the United States, two reasons. One was to re-exploit Africa's resources through AFRICOM. And the domestic mandate for President Obama was to brainwash black people, put them at bay, and pacify them long enough for the American social order to take all the rights that our ancestors fought for and give them to gays, Latinos, and white women. So by the time Obama gets out of office, black people will be totally stripped of any type of civil protection whatsoever.
Wow. Now, to mention some of the points that you said, black wealth when Obama took office was around $11,000. At this present point, it has decimated or shrank to $5,600. So you are making a very cogent and very succinct point that black wealth and black families have been just devastated. One of the things that one of the proponents of Obama would say is, well, the Republicans came together in 2008 and said they would block him in everything he was doing, and they would stand against all his measures. And what do you say to those folk that say he's just one black man in a house full of white folks, and they hate his gut, and they make it known, and they stop everything he's trying to do?
If white people hated Obama, he would have never been made president. Do you realize that President Obama's campaign is the most highly financed presidential campaign in American history? He spent $1 billion on his campaign to become president of the United States. No other president in history has ever been given that much money to get elected. Why did white people give a black man more campaign finance than any other president in history? It's because they knew that they could use him, they knew that they could control him, and they knew that he was loyal to the American social order's agenda. Obama is, although he's biologically black, he is psychologically white. He's not the least bit concerned about what happens to black folks. I mean, look at him. He has went out of his way to break his neck for gays. He has went out of his way to break his neck for Latinos. He has went out of his way to break his neck for illegal immigrants. He's breaking his neck for women. But what has he done for black people? Absolutely nothing. He even had a chance to put the first black woman in the Supreme Court. We've never had a black woman in the United States Supreme Court. And as you know, the black woman is the symbol for justice in many African cultures. Mm-hmm. Why would you not inaugurate the first black woman to the Supreme Court? And instead, he chose a white guy. So there's been ample times that Obama could have done small things to help black folks, and haven't done that. President Obama could have exonerated the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey from the false charges that were leveled against him by the United States Justice Department. A petition was sent to President Obama during his first administration as president, and President Barack Obama refused to sign. All he had to do was sign his name to exonerate Marcus Garvey from the unfair and untrue charges that was levied against him. He refused to do it. Barack Obama has spoken out against reparations. Barack Obama has spoken out against so much that could have truly benefited black folks. So the question is, why would he not, even with the stroke of a pen, do small little simple measures to show that he has some sort of loyalty to black folks? He's not interested. He's a white man.